Hey guys, welcome to the show. It's Halloween and yes, as you know, my favourite time of year. Why? Because for some strange reason, all throughout the month of October, I developed this urge or need to watch even more horror movies than usual.
What do you think of this?
What is it that you're trying to say? His mother was a...
And let's be honest, what's better than turning the lights out and watching horror movies? Keeping the lights out and watching even more horror movies. Good times. So with it being Halloween, I thought we'd mix it up a wee bit in this special episode, and rather than focus in on one movie, I wanted to talk about horror movies in general and, of course, the ones that I enjoy time and time again. This is also the 40th episode of this, The Ridiculous World of J.J. Abrams, so there's that to celebrate as well. Celebrations aside, let's start off with a question. What's your favourite horror movie? Most of the time that I ask that question, the instant reply that I get is, I don't know, or it's too hard to decide. I think it then comes down to what we actually mean by favourite horror movie. Is it something you've maybe watched when you were young and it scared you then and still does? Or is it a movie you've watched where there was a particularly frightening moment that maybe caught you off guard and you still remember it to this day? Or maybe it's a horror movie that, while not terrifying, has a good story and a creepy atmosphere that keeps you coming back over and over again. For a long time, and even now, there's people that say that The Exorcist from 1973 was and still is the scariest movie of all time. But to some people, it's not frightening at all. The very idea of possessed people floating above beds spewing out pea soup, it's just not something that some people can even allow to be frightening to them because it's just too ridiculous. But if you ask that same person, what's the movie that scared you the most? They might go down the route of something more realistic and possible, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And there's also a time and a place for different types of horror movies depending on mood and maybe circumstance. I mean, picture the scene. You and a group of friends decide to have a horror movie night. You each bring a movie as a suggestion to watch, but someone brings The Exorcist. Is it one of the greats? Yes. Is it one to watch with a group of friends? Not really. At least in my opinion. You want the full effect of The Exorcist or The Omen? Get the lights out and watch them by yourself. No. For a group of friends getting together to watch a horror movie, I would recommend going for a good bad horror movie. You know, the ones that are so bad they're good.
I kick ass for the Lord!
Come on, given the history of this ridiculous channel, you didn't actually think I was going to leave out the good bad stuff, did you?
Get a mirror.
No way. Shitty horror movies like Rock and Roll Nightmare or The Video Dead are best enjoyed with friends to just laugh at the sheer awfulness.
I am Triton, the Archangel.
And that's one of the things that I love about horror movies overall. They can be processed by viewers in different ways, like what scares us in movies is different for each person. It's each to their own. My taste in horror movies doesn't go all the way across the spectrum, but it's definitely not confined to just one style or genre. Example, I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, yes, even Part 6, but even at their finest moments, I don't consider any of them to be what you'd call scary.
Code Blue.
If I was to give an example of a movie that actually frightened me, I would quite happily throw John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness from 1987 into the mix. I've talked about Prince of Darkness before on the show, but it still comes highly recommended, so just watch it. You've got to love some John Carpenter. Visuals can obviously be very important as well, like some people find the Michael Myers mask from Halloween to be scary, or for some, it's the Annabelle doll from, well, Annabelle. But they do nothing for me, especially when you know that the Halloween mask is just a mask of William Shatner. And while the Annabelle doll isn't exactly the cutest little doll in the world, I always found the real Annabelle doll that the movie was based on to be way creepier. And just while we're on moments in movies that have maybe freaked me out or I've been particularly impressed by, what's your thoughts on this creepy moment? Okay, so it might not be that disturbing to you without an explanation as to what's going on here in 2014's Creep, but surely you agree? That's a pretty weird and strangely fucked up mask, right? I tried doing something similar in this particular video myself, but as you can see, it's not quite as effective. So as you can probably tell at this point, I'm only touching the tip of the horror iceberg in this video. Like, I'm not even going to attempt to go into the whole history of horror movies and discuss every franchise or character dating back to the first moving picture and whatnot. This is just a fun wee video for you to enjoy this Halloween. And although I did say I wasn't going to talk about every horror movie that's ever been made, I couldn't really do an episode like this without at least mentioning the true classics that will never be beaten. The Universal monster movies. Starting way back in the 1920s, Universal would eventually give us the likes of Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as the Frankenstein monster, and my personal favourite, the Wolfman starring Lon Chaney Jr. As they say, a classic never dies, and that applies to all the movies just mentioned and many, many more from that era. And on that note, let's wrap this bad boy up. This Halloween, whether you're watching a horror movie you've never seen before or rewatching one of your favourites, I hope you've a good night whatever you got up to. Let me know in the comments below if you do watch a horror movie this Halloween. What you watching? Anyway, as always, thanks for watching guys. Take care, and remember.
Code blue.
And let's be honest, what's better than watching horror... Well,